Welcome everybody to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. What's in the news today? Gonna have to wait a bit for those new PlayStation games on your fancy PC. PlayStation Games is going to apparently retain a year exclusivity on the console before porting it over to PC. PlayStation Studios head Herman Holst has noted that he expects future PlayStation titles to enjoy at least a year's exclusivity on home console platforms before making the jump to PC. The former Guerrilla Games managing director made those comments in an interview. Now, I think that's a little bunk because I think it all depends on how fast and how well it sells. The better the sales, the longer it stays exclusive. The crappier the sales, the quicker it goes to PC. But let's find out what these guys think, because they're more PC master race than I am. So let's start with Nick. Nick, do you plan on seeing God of War Ragnarok anytime soon on your PC?
No, not for Ragnarok. But I do see, we've talked about PlayStation and PC exclusivity before. And I think that year exclusivity that he's talking about, I think that will happen for a little while. I think what you're going to see is PlayStation put a lot more of their titles on PC. And I think that year exclusivity is going to get shorter and shorter as time goes on. I think eventually what you're going to see is PlayStation put out a launcher on PC. They've been putting their games on Steam. They may continue to put their games on Steam as well as their launcher, but as much as I love the PlayStation, as much money hungry as Sony is, I would not put it past them to make their own launcher, and that's where their games are exclusively for PC, purchase and play, right? Because they initially started out saying they weren't going to put their games on PC. And then lo and behold, we've gotten like a ton of games coming to PC that have already came and more coming, right? I think the latest one that they're talking about coming out soon is that PlayStation 5 exclusive one, Kena one that came out for PlayStation 5 exclusively, right? And that one's coming out soon. It's already on Steam. You can pre-order it or whatever. So you're going to see more and more titles from PlayStation that were exclusive, right? That are going to come to PC. Right now, it is that kind of year length, but I think that's going to shorten. And I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, to see a PC only launcher for PlayStation where that's where their games are housed. And they may not start out right away putting day and date type of stuff, but I think you're going to see that more and more, right? Because ultimately they are business and they are looking for money. You have PC players that are diehard PC players. They're not going to go out and buy a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X, right? They're just going to play on PC. Would they love to play Spider-Man? Would they love to play God of War, Ragnarok and stuff? Sure, but they're not going to spend the money. They're diehard PC players. They're not going to spend the money on a PlayStation. They're just not going to do it, right? And there are those people out there that are like that. Same thing with consoles, right? There's people that are diehard PlayStation. They won't buy an Xbox regardless of wanting to play something on there, and vice versa, right? So I think that Sony is seeing that there is potential in the PC market, right? And that's why you're seeing more and more of their games coming to them. And that's why right now they're on Steam, kind of putting their toes in the sand, really, filling the water out. But I think eventually you're going to see that PC launcher, and that's exclusively where the games for PlayStation is going to be, where you're going to buy them and launch them from their own specified launcher. So wouldn't be surprised if they do that. And I'd say, if I were to guess, I'd say within the next year, maybe two, we'll start seeing that kind of change over to that. I wouldn't be surprised right now. This is just me guessing. I don't actually know. I don't have insider information. I'm just assuming that's because that seems to be the direction they're heading in, right? As they slowly put games out on PC, it just seems like that's the direction they're going to go. But what do you think, Pat?
Yeah. I mean, but I'm one of these people who will not buy the game in multiple places, so you can count me out, on this, because most games that I play on PlayStation, I deem as unmissable games, I should say. Day one games are pretty close to day ones. There's some stuff that I don't necessarily play that's day one. So I'm not going to be in the market for buying these on the PC of any type. Now, maybe Epic will have them for free because I know they're selling their games on Steam and Epic. So, I doubt it. I highly doubt it. It's just, I barely pay for anything on Epic. Most of my PC gaming library is on Steam. Most of the stuff I got from Epic is the free games they give out every couple of weeks, So, it is what it is. Sony sees that there's a chance for them to make money. And as Nick said, this is going to be for those diehard PC master race people who don't want to buy a console and they're stuck with only playing their PC game because that's all they want. So that's kind of them. That's who this will be geared towards. But like me, I'm not going to wait around for Ragnarok to come onto PC. I've got a PS5, so I'm going to play it there. Now, maybe in the future, if for whatever reason I couldn't buy the current gen console and they had a game that came out on it that I really wanted to play, cool, that's good for me. I'll get to play it in a year, at least a year, right? I don't necessarily know that they're going to want to shorten the time span because Sony makes bank off of their games, whether they're new or used, especially because they control their digital ecosystem. They can charge whatever the hell they want at any given time for their game. So they're going to say it's a $70 game. And then when they put it on sale, it's on sale for $60, or something like that. So they control that ecosystem and they basically can do what they want. So I don't know. I see this more as because it's not going to take them a year to port this over to PC, or they should be developing side by side. But, I don't know. Maybe they have a division at Sony that's exclusively set aside to do nothing but make PC ports. I don't know. And stuff like that. So to me, this is like, okay, cool. It's good to hear that they're starting to open up their library a little bit to PC, but it's not a whole lot of games. I think they have like four or six games out right now. Maybe it's six. With only like two more listed in the upcoming library that I saw, or maybe it's four more. It's four more coming in the upcoming list that they've already announced and made for sure everybody's going to know about. So, I'm kind of torn. If some of these games came to PC, I might play them on PC day one, but, I do enjoy playing on the PlayStation console, and that's probably where I'll stick, even if they did come out day one. I've gotten used to this. I used to be a PC only gamer, and now I've gotten used to the consoles again, and I play most of my stuff on the console. There's exclusives. There's caveats that I should say. I don't play any real-time strategies on there. I prefer to play my tactical strategies or squad-based strategies on PC and stuff like that. There are games that I think are way better designed for the PC than they are PlayStation and Xbox. But, with PlayStation and Xbox doing a little bit more supporting of keyboard and mouse, that's kind of blurring the lines a little bit. But, we just had this conversation today, the three of us, where I would prefer that if I'm going to play on my keyboard and mouse, I'm at my desk. And if I'm playing with my controller, I'd prefer to be in my nice, comfy recliner. And I don't usually mix the two, right? I don't want to sit at my recliner with a keyboard and mouse hunched over a coffee table trying to play this thing or something, or sitting in my desk chair that's somewhat comfortable, but not for me to have a gaming session. I'd rather kick back with my feet up, and be in my recliner. So that's just me. And what about you, Shane? What are your thoughts on this, man?
You guys are definitely more PC than I am. Not political or, computer players. Right now on PC, just a short list: God of War, Spider-Man, and then Miles Morales. We'll consider a second game, even though it really is just a big old, DLC. Horizon Zero Dawn, Uncharted, the full Uncharted franchise is on there, and Returnal is coming. So, I mean, they don't have a great deal of them, but, I know people are already having a blast on their PC with God of War. I mean, some of the mods coming out are amazing. The Simpsons one's probably my favorite. Homer as Kratos is freaking hilarious. I I'm not a PC player. I do prefer my consoles because it is just ease. It is ease. Now, since hanging out with these two monkeys, I have learned to love PC games better by leaps and bounds. I really enjoy PC games more. I've gotten better with keyboard and mouse. I just wasn't, I just never did PC as a kid. I was just a console kid. It was just easier for me to afford because my parents bought me Nintendo. That's it. That's the very first thing they bought me, the last thing they bought me. Everything else I've had to buy myself. So consoles were better for me. So I never did a lot of PC stuff. So I can understand why a lot of people would be excited about this, but I personally think it's Sony double dipping too much because they're going to charge you $70 for their PC game or $60 for their PC game a year or 2 years later. It's what they've already been doing. I mean, they just double dip, All right, well, we got everybody we could on PlayStation 5. Let's get them on the PC now. That bothers me. You don't really get like big discounts or significance to it for purchasing it on the PC. But that's just, that is just me. But it is nice to see them, it seems like they follow Microsoft a bit, like, all right, so Microsoft is doing this. All right, we're going to wait a while, but we're going to do it our own way. It's going to be probably worse, but we're going to do it that way anyway. They're doing it with, the PC games. They're doing it with their, their incentives programs and things like that. Their membership programs when they first came out, Xbox Live and stuff like that. So this is just another way they're following through. I don't like it because I like the way Microsoft does it. There's a lot of games I can get on console from Xbox. I can get on and play the same game on PC, just be able to play it because I already own it on PC or own it on Xbox. So I can play it on PC. And that I like. I think Sony should do something like that where if you buy the console version of, say, God of War, the PlayStation version, I should, pay $10 and I can play the PC version or something like that. To me, that is, more understandable. But Sony's not consumer friendly anymore, and that sucks. But I don't really have any hopes for the PC ports of these because I just don't play them much. I've never used a mod. I don't really know how. It's just not me. So to be able to play modded versions of Uncharted and things like that, it would be really cool. But I don't have the technical skills. So for just generic gamers like myself, this doesn't really benefit because I'm not going to buy them a PC if I've already bought them on PlayStation. Because I would rather sit in front of my TV on my couch than sit at this desk and stare at the monitor. I got 65, or I could do 32 or 28, whatever the hell this thing is. So, but that's me.
Yeah, I forgot about the modding community, right? That's about the only thing that you would run into, right? Mods. But I'm also not one of these people who spend weeks and months in the same game. That's just not me. I don't have the time for that. I mean, I've never been that way, to be honest with you. Back in the day, the closest I ever came to something like that would have been like WoW back in the day, where everybody played with mods. You had to have mods installed in WoW if you wanted to track things like DPS properly and your tracking of, like, back before they had quests, you had like Cosmos UI interface and Quest Tracker and Quest Helper and all that kind of stuff that you would install to make the game have some quality of life improvements that you just weren't built into the game yet. And I did some stuff with Fallout back in the day on the PC because they had mods to make Fallout look better and change things about Fallout and stuff like that. But to this day and age, I don't play a whole lot of modded stuff. I play them in the developer's original, splendor that they put it out into, because I just have that one playthrough in me. I don't have, I'm going to play this game for a month or 2 months or even a year like some of these people play. Like, I've seen people play in Skyrim freaking since it came out, and they're always checking out new mods and doing this. And I'm like, I just don't have that kind of time. I've got 10 other games that are waiting for me to get to, so I don't have that kind of time. I don't know about Nick. What about you, man? Do you play a lot of you put a lot of mods on your games and stuff like that and try them out?
No. I've never been, I've done mods before, but I've never been big into the mod scene. I like a lot of them. A lot of them look really cool, but it's definitely a lot easier nowadays to put a mod on than it used to be. Back in the day, it could be a little. You had to do a lot more. Now it's kind of like with Steam, you can just like click install, right, and then the mod's there. With some mods, depending on what they are, but because you go to the workshop and you can add them from there. But no, I've never been big into the mod scene, but yeah, and I think that's why Sony's gonna, I think that's why that year of exclusivity will get shorter. But I think they're going to introduce. I wouldn't put it past them to introduce a launcher. Now, will they take their games out of Steam? I mean, that would be a big hit to the community, but right now they don't seem to care what the community thinks. So, and I could see them integrating. What would be nice is if they did do something like that, they integrated their PlayStation Plus or whatever, and it, similar to Game Pass, right? Because it's supposed to be a Game Pass contender in a sense. And then they made like some of their PC games, some of the games on PC free through that service there, kind of like Xbox does with Game Pass on PC, where you can play some of the games over on the PC that are part of the Game Pass subscription, right? That would expand Sony's, that would make people, one, use the launcher more, which may provoke people to buy games through the launcher. And then they also have free games that they can try out and play and various things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it sounds like Herman, the PlayStation Studios head, it sounds like he says at least a year. So it sounds like he's not 100% sure what Sony's direction is on that. It almost sounds like he's just kind of guessing or making his best judgment on it. I would say he's probably correct or close to it for now, right? But I don't see that lasting forever. I think, usually when God of War and Spider-Man and all those have come out to PC, they've been number one on Steam, and they'll sit on number one for quite a while as bestsellers. So Sony sees that, hey, why are we cutting off this section of revenue, right? They talk about, when the PlayStation first comes out, they talk about like keeping old traditions and stuff, but that went out the door as quickly as they talked about it. So, I mean, Microsoft and Sony and all these companies, they try new things, right? And some of them are failures and some of them are successes, right? Game Pass is one of those things, right? Everyone thought it was going to be a failure or wasn't quite sure. It ended up being a huge success for Microsoft. And now you see things like Nintendo even and Sony following suit with their own types of things, right? And then putting their games on PC, right? Microsoft started doing that, and Sony and Nintendo were like tradition. Nintendo's still in the tradition phase, but Sony said tradition, we only put them on consoles, blah, blah, blah. And now they've started to, because they've seen that, well, for Microsoft, it was actually pretty successful. I mean, their consoles still sell good and they're still selling games over here. So, they're not, their console sales aren't matching up to PlayStation's, but they're still selling, I think Xbox Series X is like one of the, besides the 360, is like catching up to the most sold console for Xbox, for Microsoft, besides the 360. So they're seeing that it can be successful to put their games on both, right? Exclusivity used to be a thing back in the day when we didn't have the things we have now, the robust internet infrastructure and the accessibility to media like we do today, right? Exclusivity back in the day, that's, you got a PlayStation or you got a Nintendo GameCube or whatever. That was the only thing you could play on, right? And at that time, I don't know. It felt like at the time it was a little harder to own all the systems, right? I eventually had them all, but it was quite a bit of distance between them, right? And not as short as distance as it is today. So, not that they've gotten any cheaper. It just seems like, I don't know, the media is just more out there, and more available, more accessible, more, acceptable among the society and stuff like that. There was always that bad kind of juju magic with game consoles and gaming in general back when we were young, right? There was a bunch of scandals, Grand Theft Auto and all that crap that was back in the day, right? And games were looked at as being like evil, still some parts of society still look them that way, but they're more generally accepted now, right? And so I think with that, I think Microsoft saw that they could expand their horizons, and they successfully did so, right? Not saying that they've always had successes, Kinect, that was a huge flop for them, right? And Xbox One was a huge flop for them. But I think Sony was kind of holding back, thinking that the series and this Game Pass and all this stuff that Microsoft was doing was going to be a flop for them, or wasn't quite sure, right? And when they saw that it succeeded, I think that's what drew Sony's hand to say, okay, we need to start heading in this direction as well, because this is how it seems like this is extremely popular, and this is kind of the direction that everything's going. So we need to follow suit, because otherwise we're going to be left behind. Right. And so I think this is just the start of it for Sony. They are going kind of slow with their PC exclusives on the PC, but I think that will ramp up over time. I wouldn't be surprised. So.
Right. And remember, this is just them talking about Sony published or developed games and their first party studios. This isn't like, all those studios that publish stuff everywhere else. I mean, if it's a publisher that works with Sony and they got exclusive rights for the console, it doesn't mean it'll ever come to PC, right? I mean, that's just the nature of that beast, because the developers do the work to develop that. Because it kind of brings into mind like Forspoken, right? That one's got a PC day one launch alongside of the PlayStation 5. So, but that's also Luminous production, which is not, it's what is it? I think they're a subsidiary of Square Enix at one time,
yeah,
but they're not anymore. They're their own company. They are owned by Square Enix, but now they're like a subsidiary underling. But Square Enix doesn't publish. They publish outside of PlayStation's ecosystem. So, so this isn't a first party studio that's going to be held to those same types of requirements. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's Sony doing Sony. And they have every right to do it where they want. Sucks, yes, because they should just release them both at the same time to both areas. I don't know if I see them speeding up or not. I mean, it depends on how much money they make, as both of you guys have said. How much money they make, if they deem that it's worthwhile, that they can make more money now. But here's the thing. They're loading up these PlayStation games for like $60 and $70 on the PC, and they're selling. So why not sell everything you can to your console your holders, and then wait a year and then sell it like it was a brand new game again? Sounds like a win-win situation to me. But, because in my opinion, what that does too is by doing this is it allows people like Nick, looking at Nick, they'll buy the game on PlayStation and then they'll buy the game on PC again. So there will be games that Nick will probably do that too. Because that's just the nature of the beast. So that's just the way that Nick plays his games and the way he prefers. Sometimes he wants to play it on Xbox. Sometimes he wants to play it on PC. Sometimes he wants to play it on PlayStation. And if it's on all three, he might own it on 2 out of the 3. Heaven forbid if it's on the Switch too, he's going to own it on 3 out of 4. So
it's possible.
It's possible. Yes, very much possible. I would expect it to be at least in 2 places in Nick's library. One on the console that it released on, and then another on his PC library.
Yeah, he'll have it at least digital and disc somehow or somewhere. So, but I don't like that they double dip for a full price. I think that's BS. But people are buying it, so obviously it doesn't bother everybody like it does me. So, good for them. You guys got anything else? All right. Well, tell us what you think. Are you going to let Sony double dip? Are you going to get it on the console and your PC? Do you prefer just waiting for it to come out on PC? Do you not have the console? Tell us what you think about Sony's PC plans. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications and tell your friends and all that good stuff. And give us your interactions because we enjoy it. And until next time, see ya.